Here we are on number 17. We're getting so close to the end. This is the design that we'll be stitching today. Now I'm going to start off with a stem stitch, and I'm going to outline the bird with the stem stitch, and this is the light blue number 503. And if you stick with me for a little bit until I get to that corner, I'm going to show you how to turn the corner. I think I've shown you several times before, but I like to do little reminders of this. So I can squeeze in 2 more stitches there. And then what you're going to do is stab your needle into that corner, and you're going to come out about 1 centimetre away on the right hand side. Then you're going to pop the needle back into that same corner, and you're going to bring it out about halfway in between. And that is your foundation stitch, and now you're ready to keep stem stitching. Next, I'm going to do those lovely rays that are coming off the birdie. And those are just very simple straight stitches. Now this white line work inside the bird's body and on its wings, I've decided to do that in a back stitch because it's got the little sort of V shapes that are coming off it, and I thought the back stitch is probably the easiest way to do it. If you want to do it in a different way, absolutely go for it. So I fitted in 3 back stitches in that top part, and then I'm just going to come out on one side, do 1 little diagonal line, and then do the same on the other side, and then just continue towards the center of the flower. Now when you get to the end, what I did is I just continued with the same thread, and I then outlined that flower, the white lines, also in a back stitch in preparation for whip stitching it later on. And I decided to use the orange color over the top of that white back stitch. You can whip stitch it with any color you want. In fact, you can make any color combination that you like. It will all work out. So we're just going to whip stitch that all the way around the flower. Next, while I've got my orange already threaded, I'm going to fill in those big orange flower petals, and I've decided to do that by adding 3 fly stitches inside each flower petal. I think that's a really quick way to sort of give it a semi-fill, give it a bit of texture, but also to finish the petals quite quickly. And then from here I'll just come out onto the next petal. Then we're going to do, there's an orange outline around the bird's wings, and again I'm just using the stem stitch. Honestly, it's my favorite stitch. It's quick, it's easy, and it gives a lovely texture. By all means, use a different outline stitch if you prefer. Now over here I've gone a little bit rogue because these lines are orange, but I'm using a purple thread, which is totally fine. I mean, you can use an orange thread. I thought I'll just mix it up a little bit, change things up. And here I'm using the chain stitch. Again, I just wanted to do something a little bit different, and I think that the texture is really lovely on the chain stitch. Now when you get to the end, that next line is just going to get restarted in the same way that we started that first line. When you finish off with that purple chain stitch, you can get started on the inside of the flower straight away if that's the color that you're using. And I've just decided to fill it with a satin stitch. As always, I divide the shape in half first. I stitch one side with the satin stitch, and then I go back and fill in the other side. Okay, now the center of that flower in the middle of the bird, I decided to do in like an outline of French knots. I like the way it looks. If you want, you can fill that whole circle there with French knots, like with a big cluster. I only outlined it, and then I added one single French knot in the center. The bird's crown I did with very easy lazy daisies, just one lazy daisy per little, I don't know what you'd call them, little feathers, I guess, on top of its head. The eye, very easy, just a single French knot. Now the leaves, you've probably guessed it, it's my favorite way of doing leaves. I know I keep saying this in every single video, but honestly, that fly stitch, the texture, the little gaps in between the stitches, super quick, super effective. I'm using that light olive green. By all means, use a different color if you prefer. And also, if you wanted to squish those stitches up and make it a little bit more dense, give it more coverage, of course you can do it. Bear in mind, it's going to take you a little bit longer and use up more thread. Now to fill these orange petals, I just wanted to do something really quick, and what I thought, satin stitch, I don't want to be that exact. So all I did was just kind of, I'm going to call it a loose satin stitch. Yeah, that's a good word for it, because there are just kind of these loose gaps in between each of the stitches, and you just move from one petal to the next. Very easy. The outline, once again, I did that in a stem stitch. I think it really lifts the whole flower, and it really gives it like a solid presence on that fabric. Those little dots at the bottom of the bird's tail are done in French knots. Now, those little swirly lines I did in a back stitch, but just have a look over here. I actually made my back stitches very, very small because those curves are quite tight. They're quite little. And when you keep your back stitches smaller, it just makes it look nicer, neater. And that's the end. I hope you enjoyed it.